Nobody wakes up and says, "I'm going to ruin my life today." That's not how destruction begins. It begins quietly, with a sentence, a harmless one. "This isn't what it looks like. I'll fix it later. It's not that bad." And the most dangerous part? You believe it. Tonight, you'll hear 3 stories about people who told themselves one small lie. They defended it, they repeated it, they built their reality around it. Only one of these stories actually happened, but all 3 prove something terrifying. The easiest person to deceive is yourself. Welcome to Trublur. Every episode you hear 3 unbelievable stories. 2 of them are fiction, 1 of them is real. Story 1. The partner who knew they weren't cheating. She noticed the changes, not dramatic, not obvious, just different. He started working later. His phone was always face down. Conversations felt slightly shorter. When she asked, he smiled. "You're overthinking." And she believed him. Because the alternative was unbearable. Friends hinted at concerns. A coworker mentioned seeing him somewhere unusual. She dismissed it. "They don't know him like I do." Each inconsistency became proof of her insecurity, not his behavior. She rewrote events in real time. Late reply? He's busy. Strange charge on the bank statement? Probably work-related. Emotionally distant? He's stressed. Every red flag became evidence that she needed to be more trusting, because trusting felt safer than confronting. Months passed. Then the truth surfaced, not gradually, but brutally. Hotel receipts, messages, dates. It had been happening for over a year, and what shattered her most wasn't the betrayal. It was the realization that she had participated in her own deception. The signs had been there, but her brain protected her identity. "I'm not someone who gets cheated on." So reality adjusted to fit the belief, not the other way around. That first lie was emotional. It protected love. The second one protected something else: power. Story 2. The executive who wasn't hurting anyone. He didn't start with fraud. He started with pressure, quarterly expectations, investor calls, employees depending on stability. One bad quarter could tank everything. So he adjusted a number, slightly. Revenue shifted forward, losses reframed, temporary smoothing. It wasn't theft, it was strategy. He told himself, "This is temporary. I'll balance it next quarter. I'm protecting jobs." And in that moment, he believed it. The next quarter came. The gap was bigger. Fixing it would now expose the original adjustment. So he adjusted again and again. Each decision felt necessary, responsible, even moral. He wasn't buying yachts. He was keeping the company alive. At least that's how he framed it. Years passed. The company grew. Investors celebrated. He became admired. The lie evolved. "I'm too important to fail. If this collapses, thousands suffer. I have to keep going." Until the math no longer cooperated. An audit exposed inconsistencies, then patterns, then deliberate manipulation. The collapse was fast. Stock crashed. Employees lost jobs. Retirement accounts vanished. He stood in court and said something revealing. "I never meant to hurt anyone." And psychologically, that was true. He didn't see himself as a criminal. He saw himself as someone buying time. Self-deception doesn't start evil. It starts protective. The first lie protected love. The second protected reputation. The third one protected identity itself. Story 3. The man who would fix it later. For years, he told himself the same sentence: "I'll make it right." He was in charge of finances, respected, trusted, competent. When money went missing, he didn't panic. He rationalized. "I'm just borrowing it. I'll replace it. No one will notice." The first time felt like a bridge, temporary. The second time felt necessary. The third time felt inevitable. He adjusted records, rearranged entries, covered gaps with future expectations. And every time he looked at the numbers, he told himself, "This isn't theft. This is management. I'm stabilizing things." The amount grew. Small discrepancies became structural deception. But psychologically, he never crossed a line. Because in his narrative, he never intended permanent harm. That was the key: intent. He didn't feel like a criminal. He felt like someone solving a problem, until investigators traced the pattern. Years of manipulation, millions misallocated. When confronted, he didn't say, "I wanted the money." He said, "I thought I could fix it." And here's what makes this case so disturbing. In private journals, he had written about pressure, about responsibility, about believing he was preventing collapse. He wasn't describing greed, he was describing justification. He had told himself the same lie for so long it felt like truth. So which lie was real? The woman who rewrote betrayal into insecurity, the executive who called manipulation protection, or the man who said he was only borrowing the money? Only one of these stories actually happened. The real story was the third one. It echoes what happened with Bernard Madoff. For years, Madoff ran what would become the largest Ponzi scheme in history. An estimated $65 billion in reported account balances collapsed. But here's what makes this relevant to your theme. He did not describe himself as a villain. In interviews after his arrest, Madoff repeatedly said something striking. He claimed it started as a temporary solution, a short-term cover. He believed markets would recover. He believed he could earn it back. He believed he was protecting investors from panic. That belief, "I'll fix this before anyone gets hurt," became the psychological hinge. And every year he didn't fix it, the lie required expansion. Fake statements, fabricated returns, layered deception. But internally, he framed it as stabilization, damage control, responsibility. This is not speculation. In prison interviews with journalists like Steve Fishman, Madoff described convincing himself that the market downturns were temporary. The scheme would unwind naturally. No one needed to know if it could be corrected. That is classic cognitive dissonance reduction. When reality conflicts with identity, the mind adjusts the narrative, not the self-image. By the time the collapse happened in 2008, the fraud wasn't a single decision. It was thousands of small justifications. What was destroyed? Billions in retirement savings, charitable foundations, entire family legacies, and eventually, his own family relationships. 2 of his sons died within years of the scandal, one by suicide. And yet, even after sentencing, Madoff maintained that he had originally intended to fix it. That detail is documented, that detail is real, and that detail is the point. The most catastrophic lies often begin as self-soothing thoughts. Not greed, not evil, not ambition, just, "I'll make this right later."